Now, Debbie, let's bring you back on screen. You are about to take us into a very serious area. We had a little bit of discussion before today's news on this subject because it is so difficult and we know it's dark, but we came to the conclusion that as responsible adults, we need to talk about what's really happening. What have you got to tell us?
Yes, we do. Well, we've been talking about assisted dying. We've been talking about end-of-life care pathways. We've been also talking about the thousands, I dread to think how many people have died from midazolam and morphine administration. So what happens if end-of-life care goes wrong? And you'll know that previously we've been speaking about how it seems to be just seeping in to the UK. And I took this article from The Guardian, which was entitled "No One Should Be Dying of an Eating Disorder in 2023." And as you know, we've been talking about the SEED pathway. As we look further into that article, the article was written by a lady called Dorothy Dunn, and she's been reflecting on the news of the fact that the SEED pathway, the end-of-life care pathway, will be offered to some people with anorexia nervosa. So we've been asking ourselves, is this the first stage of even more to come? And in March, just this year, there was an inquiry into assisted dying. You've got the story there from The Guardian. Now, this is a story about hearing from people who have faced unbearable suffering, even on end-of-life care pathways. And I think this is where we start to muddy the water, because are we looking at some people who are so scared of the end-of-life pathway and what happens when it goes wrong that they may be looking towards an assisted suicide instead? So I want to draw your attention back to Voice of Justice, an incredible organisation who have published When End-of-Life Care Goes Wrong. Now, this is just a part of the summary that you can find as a PDF online. Please freeze the screen. It talks about the Liverpool care pathway, but it also talks about many, many stories that are absolutely horrific and should never have taken place. And if anybody wants to grab the hard copy of that, then there is a hard copy available if you go to Voice of Justice. There it is on the screen, the report from the Lords and Commons Family and Child Protection Group. So we've got all of this going on in the UK, but I just want to flip back to Canada, because as we know, the MAiD scheme is very much alive, pardon the pun, and well in Canada. So we're now looking at euthanasia houses. This is in an article in the Right to Life News, where an organisation wants to set up euthanasia houses in Canada. Now, this has been proposed by a euthanasia group. They're made up of euthanasia advocates, so they call themselves. And according to their report, they're saying that 125 people used their euthanasia house, but they've been having trouble getting premises. I wonder why. But it was also quite shocking, I found, that a funeral home in Canada has launched a personalised euthanasia service. So for $700, you can watch a movie, or you can drink wine as you die, which I found particularly shocking. But if we go and look on a little bit more into that article, we can see that many people are saying that they want a personalised experience, and actually not just a glass of wine, but how about a group of people? How about dying with a group of people, perhaps 4 or 5, or maybe up to 30 people? So I'm sure many of our viewers are conjuring up some images of some of the films that we're possibly being used to seeing, perhaps like Logan's Run. And sadly, there 1 in 5 cite loneliness as a reason to want to die. So these MAiDHouses are non-profit organisations, and they're devoted to providing this MAiD service, which is the medically assisted in dying service in Canada. But what really shocked me, I think more than anything, was an article that I saw from BioEdge that talks about Toronto's MAiDHouse. This is the only MAiDHouse that there is, because they can't find other premises at the moment. But it really is quite shocking. As they write, it is relatively quick. A patient arrives, is killed, and an unmarked car arrives to take away the body. And I ask myself now, and I ask all of our viewers watching and listening, when does it merge that end-of-life care becomes so unreliably bad and terrifying that people volunteer themselves for assisted suicide, including 18-year-olds who have been put on the SEED pathway? And I do realise it's a very difficult subject, but I do think it's something that people need to be aware of.
Debbie, I've just got to come in very quickly here that what we are witnessing is the path to the T4 program in Nazi Germany. This is a killing program that was launched in Tierstrasse in Germany, where people who had mental health problems or severe deformities or birth defects were murdered. And we are drifting slowly but surely towards, well, it's planned, but the drift is taking us in this direction. This is very clear. We have an evil, malevolent governmental system on a global scale, which is telling us quite openly now the intention is to kill people off if they're considered no use at the end of their lives. Sorry to take up that little bit of time there, but I think it needed to be said.
Yes, no, I completely agree.